Okay, so giants. We're going big this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, when it comes to Greek mythology, these guys are fascinating. Not just huge, but like full of contradictions.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes them so interesting, right? We're taking on your request about the gigantes. Those are the real heavy hitters in Greek myth.
The big guys.
And trust me, there's way more to their story than, like, big guys throw rocks.
Right. Like, were they always gigantic? I mean, what even got them fighting the gods in the first place? And don't even get me started on the whole snake legs thing.
We'll get there.
We need answers. But, okay, let's start at the beginning. Origin stories. Where did these guys come from?
All right, well, buckle up, because it's a messy family affair to start. We're talking primordial drama here.
Okay.
So Hesiod, our main man for these early myths, in his theogony, he tells us the giants were born from blood.
Blood. Whose blood are we talking about?
Uranus,
Oh, right. The sky god.
the sky god. After his son, Cronus, or let's just say Cronus took family issues to a whole new level. Yeah, you don't want to be at that family reunion.
Not at all.
But it's not just any blood, right? This is the blood of the sky god spilling onto Gaia, the earth. So there's this inherent link, right, to creation itself.
Whoa. So
Yeah.
they're born from an act of, what, rebellion? But it's also tied into this, like, primal act of creation. That's wild.
Exactly. It's this weird mix of violence and decreation. Like, they embody both.
And that's just Hesiod's version. Then we get Apollodorus' take on the whole giant birth situation.
Right.
He agrees they're Gaia and Uranus' kids, but he says Gaia was driven by this, like, white-hot rage over what happened to the Titans.
Yeah. The Titans getting imprisoned, she was not happy about that.
So now we're talking revenge-fueled giants.
Oh, yeah. Major motive for rebellion.
Talk about holding a grudge.
And this is what I love about Greek myth. Rarely a single answer, you know? Different tellings emphasize different things. It's not about one truth.
Yeah, it's like each storyteller is adding their own, like, commentary to the myth. But then we've got Homer. Gotta love Homer. And he throws us a total curveball. In the Odyssey, he mentions giants as, get this, ancestors of humans.
Oh, yeah.
He calls them near kin to the gods.
Alongside the Cyclops? Like, what?
Yeah. So were they not always seen as these, like, monstrous baddies?
It's really interesting because what we might be seeing is how the ancient Greeks' view of giants evolved over time.
Right.
Early on, maybe they were more like, I don't know, powerful but mortal figures, maybe even heroic sometimes.
Okay, I'm picturing, like, the really strong guy in the village. Little intimidating, but not, like, evil.
Exactly. But as these stories are told and retold, written down, reinterpreted, the giants start to become something else. They embody the chaos, the raw, untamed force that the Olympian gods, they represent order, right? So the giants become their opposite.
So they went from village strongman to public enemy number one, which I guess brings us to the big showdown, right? The Gigantomachy.
Yeah.
Giants versus Olympians.
Oh, yeah.
The ultimate clash of the Titans.
The title fight.
But, and here's where it gets a little fuzzy for me, even the ancient sources couldn't agree on why they were fighting. Like, what sparked this whole thing?
It's true. The why of the Gigantomachy, it's surprisingly vague.
Vague.
Yeah, some scholars, they point to this Scholia on Homer. It claims this giant, Eurymedon, let's just say he got a little too familiar with Hera.
No, not cool, dude.
No. Others say it was way more down to earth, like a fight over stolen cattle.
Okay, so from divine disrespect to petty theft, those are two very different ends of the spectrum.
Right. But maybe it's not about the specifics. Maybe it's about this bigger theme.
Right.
Order versus chaos, civilization against this raw, untamed power.
So less about who stole whose cow and more about these huge forces in the universe going head to head.
Exactly. And that lack of a single reason, maybe it's because for the ancient Greeks, that struggle was just a fact of life. Like, it was always there, this tension between order and chaos.
Built into the system.
Exactly. It's fascinating. And speaking of built into the system where this fight happens, that's interesting too. The location of the battle, right?
Yeah, like where did this cosmic smackdown go down?
Well, we've got Pindar, the poet, placing it in Phlegra,
Flagrant. Doesn't ring a bell.
which basically translates to place of burning,
Okay, now that paints a picture.
volcanoes, right? Linking the giants to that raw, fiery power of the earth itself.
So we're not just talking about some abstract fight in the heavens. These guys are shaking things up down here too.
And it gets even more interesting. So Phlegra, it was a real place in Greece,
Okay.
but it was also a name they used for volcanic areas near Naples.
Me, Italy. You're telling me those giants are tied to like actual volcanoes, stuff that would have been really impressive to the ancient Greeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, right? How much did the real world, those awe-inspiring and kind of terrifying natural events, shape how they pictured this mythical battle?
It's like those myths were their way of explaining the unexplainable.
Right. And what's more powerful than a giant to explain a volcano?
Okay, so we've got these giants tied to the earth, full of chaotic power going up against the gods. But how do the gods actually win this thing?
Well, it's not easy, that's for sure. The Olympians were definitely in for a fight.
I bet.
Apollodorus, he gives us the most detailed account of the battle. And it's a wild ride. But the key takeaway, the gods, they needed help.
Really? They couldn't handle it on their own.
See, there was this prophecy. It said only a mortal could strike the final blow.
Oh, so that's where Heracles comes in.
Bingo, gotta love a good demigod, right?
It's like the divine version of calling in the cavalry.
Right. But even with Heracles, they had to be smart about it. Strategic.
Okay, so give me the play-by-play. How'd they outsmart these giants?
Take Alcyoneus. He was one of the strongest giants, right? But he had a weakness. He was invincible on his home turf.
Oh, I see. So take him out of the game, you take away his power.
Exactly. So what does Heracles do? He literally drags the guy off. Brutal, but effective.
Talk about thinking outside the box. Or maybe outside the volcano.
Right. And it wasn't just Heracles either. The other gods, they had to bring their A game too.
Oh, yeah. What did he do? Besides, the usual godlike stuff.
Dionysus, he was there with his thyrsus.
His what now?
That's his staff, but not just any staff. Pine cone on top, often wreathed in ivy. Said to be able to drive people mad or bring them joy. Depends on the day, you know?
Sounds like my kind of party guest.
Right. And Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, she was there with blazing torches.
So it was a full-on divine team effort.
Oh, yeah, had to be to take down these guys.
Teamwork makes the dream work, even for the gods.
But, okay, I gotta know, when I picture a giant, I'm thinking huge, monstrous, probably covered in hair. What did the Greeks actually picture?
Well, it's interesting. Early depictions, we're talking like 6th century BC and before, giants, they often look more human.
Really?
Yep. They're often shown as hoplites. That's the heavily armed soldier of ancient Greece.
So not just big and scary, but organized, like a real threat to the order that the gods represent. Exactly. It's as much about what they represent as their actual size. They're reflecting what humans themselves could become. The potential for violence, disruption. It's a cautionary tale almost.
Okay, but then things get weird. And I mean, weirder than giant soldiers.
Right,
You get the snake legs. Like, what's up with that? Was that just to make them extra creepy?
Well, could be. But it probably goes deeper than that. Remember Typhon?
Guy's other kid, Mr. Monster himself.
Exactly. He was all about the serpentine features.
Right. Snakes for days.
So by giving the giants snake legs, they're visually linked to Typhon, and by extension, even more to that primal, chaotic energy of the earth.
So they're not just big and strong. They're tied to something ancient, powerful, and kind of scary, frankly. They're like, don't mess with us, we have snake legs.
Right. And that connection to the earth, it goes even deeper when you look at some of the other details in the myths. Remember that whole thing with Gaia searching for a special plant?
You mean that pharmacon thing?
Exactly, that pharmacon.
Okay, so the giants need this plant, this pharmacon, to like level up their power, right? But it's not that straightforward, is it?
Not at all. See, in ancient Greek thought, a pharmacon, it could be both a poison and a cure.
Okay, now we're talking. It's like a double-edged sword kind of thing.
Exactly. It all depends on how it's used, right?
So how does this connect to the whole giant thing?
Well, I think it adds another layer to their relationship with nature. Even though they're going up against the gods, they're still shown as being connected to these natural forces, drawing strength from the earth.
So it's like they're not just these mindless forces of destruction. They're part of something bigger.
Exactly. It's about those cycles of creation and destruction, growth and decay.
The earth takes it all in. The good, the bad, the giant-sized battles.
And it endures, which I think is a really powerful message, right? Even in the face of these epic showdowns, even after the giants are defeated, the earth finds a way to heal, to regenerate, to move forward.
There's a lesson in there somewhere, right?
For sure. Maybe it's a reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there's potential for growth, for renewal, and that maybe by understanding these ancient stories, by grappling with those larger-than-life figures like the Gigantes, we can tap into that resilience ourselves.
Whoa. Okay, that got deep. But I love it. It's like, yeah, they're giants, they're battling gods, snake legs, the whole deal. But there's this message of hope. woven through it all.
Exactly.
Okay, so to wrap this whole giant-sized deep dive up, are they symbols of chaos or just like really misunderstood forces of nature? I think that's something for all of us to think about.
Right. I mean, what resonates with you? What does it say about how WE view power, rebellion, our place in the world?
Big questions. But that's what these deep dives are all about, right? So until next time, keep exploring those myths, keep asking those giant questions, and we'll catch you in the next episode. All right, ready to dive into some seriously weird physics. Schrodinger's cat,
Oh, yeah.
one of those things everybody's heard of.
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't quite get what Schrodinger was really trying to do with this. He wasn't trying to freak everybody out about zombie cats.
No, not at all. He was actually trying to highlight some of the really bizarre things about quantum mechanics.
Okay, so for anybody who needs a little refresher, we're using the Wikipedia article on Schrodinger's cat today as our main guide. And the basic setup, you've got this cat trapped in a box. And there's a device in there that has a 50-50 chance of releasing some deadly poison. And it's all tied to the decay of a single radioactive atom.
So it's kind of like a quantum coin toss with really high stakes for the cat. But the weird thing is, until we open the box, quantum mechanics says that cat is both alive and dead, not one or the other, both at the same time. It's what we call superposition.
Wait a minute. So it's like that coin spinning in the air before it lands. You know, it's both heads and tails at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Except instead of a coin, we're talking about a living, breathing creature.
Okay, that's where my brain starts to melt a little bit. It's already weird with a coin. But a whole cat, that's just strange.
It is really strange. And that's why this thought experiment was dreamed up, to force us to confront that strangeness. Schrodinger. Along with Einstein, they weren't entirely happy with the way that quantum mechanics was being interpreted at the time.
You're talking about the famous Copenhagen interpretations.
Yeah.
So they were using this cat scenario to kind of highlight the problems with that view.
Exactly. They felt like it was incomplete. Like it said that the act of observation, like us opening the box, that collapses the wave function.
Yeah.
And forces the cat into one state or the other. But it didn't really explain how or why that collapse happens.
Right. Like, is it our consciousness that's doing the collapsing? Does that mean we have, like, mind control over reality?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because there are other interpretations of quantum mechanics that try to answer those questions. And one of the most mind-blowing is the many worlds interpretation.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that one. Isn't that the one where every possibility actually happens, but in different parallel universes?
That's the one. So in this case, when we open the box, the universe actually splits. In one universe, we see the cat alive and well. And in another universe, we see...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a universe out there where I decided to wear that ridiculous hat I bought last week?
Potentially, yeah. Every decision, every quantum event could lead to a branching of realities. It's a wild idea. But some physicists take it very seriously.
Okay. Now, my brain is officially doing backflips. Are there any other interpretations out there
Yeah.
that don't involve me having infinite doppelgangers?
There are. There are actually a whole bunch of them. For example, there are what are called objective collapse theories. And these suggest that superpositions eventually collapse on their own, without needing an observer, especially when things get too big or too complicated, to stay in both states at once.
So maybe the cat state gets kind of blurred by its interactions with the environment inside the box, and that causes it to collapse into one state or the other before we even have a chance to open the box.
That's the idea. It's like the environment itself acts as an observer, causing what we call decoherence. And decoherence makes it much harder for larger objects to stay in that fuzzy, both alive and dead state.
Okay, so even though Schrodinger never intended to actually put a cat in a box, this thought experiment has really sparked a lot of debate of the nature of reality and how quantum mechanics works in the real world.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're going to explore next. Well, we can't build a Schrodinger's cat experiment with an actual cat. Scientists have been able to create these strange cat states with tiny objects like photons and atoms.
You got it. And that's where it starts to get really mind-blowing. Because these experiments are leading to some incredible technological advancements. So before we went on that little tangent about parallel universes and stuff, we were talking about how scientists are actually creating these cat states in the lab.
Yeah, with tiny things like photons and atoms. So
Yeah.
tell me more about that. Are they really putting these little particles in boxes and...
Thankfully not. No particles are being harmed in these experiments. But what scientists are doing is actually pretty amazing. They're using lasers and magnetic fields to manipulate these tiny particles, putting them into a superposition of states, just like our hypothetical cat.
So instead of being both alive and dead, these photons or atoms are, say, both spinning up and spinning down at the same time.
Exactly. It's like they're in two places at once, or spinning in two directions at the same time. And this isn't just some theoretical curiosity. These experiments are paving the way for some really exciting technology, like quantum computing.
Oh yeah, quantum computers. I keep hearing about how they're going to revolutionize everything, but I'll admit, I'm still a little fuzzy on how they actually work. It's all very science fiction to me.
Well, imagine a computer that can explore all possible solutions to a problem simultaneously. That's the power of quantum computing, instead of bits, which can only be 0 or 1. Quantum computers use qubits. And qubits, thanks to superposition, can be both 0 and 1 at the same time.
So it's like having a computer that can run millions of calculations at once, instead of one at a time. That's incredible.
You got it. And that kind of processing power could revolutionize everything, from medicine to materials, science to artificial intelligence. Imagine designing new drugs with pinpoint accuracy, creating unbreakable encryption, or even understanding the human brain in ways we never thought possible.
That's mind-blowing. It sounds like quantum computing is going to be a total game changer. But hold on a second. If observing a system collapses the wave function, how can a quantum computer actually function without destroying the superposition states that it relies on? Wouldn't just looking at the qubits ruin everything?
That's a brilliant question, and it's one of the biggest challenges facing quantum computing researchers. They're working on some very clever ways to isolate and manipulate qubits without collapsing their delicate wave function. It's like building a house of cards in a hurricane.
So they need to find a way to read the results of the quantum calculations.
Yeah.
Without actually observing the qubits directly.
Precisely. It's a delicate dance, but the potential rewards are enormous.
Okay, this has been an incredible journey so far. We've gone from a thought experiment with a hypothetical cat to real-world experiments with mind-boggling implications for technology.
It really highlights how Schrodinger's cat, even though it was just a thought experiment, has had a profound impact on science and technology.
It makes you wonder, what other scientific breakthroughs are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to unlock their secrets?
Absolutely. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's not forget the philosophical questions that Schrodinger's cat raises about the nature of reality itself. I mean, if reality is so fuzzy at the quantum level, what does that mean for our own existence? Are we just a collection of wave functions waiting to be collapsed?
Ooh, okay, slow down. I'm still trying to wrap my head around parallel universes, where I'm wearing questionable fashion choices. But you've hit on something really important here. This isn't just about physics and technology. Schrodinger's cat forces us to confront some pretty big existential questions.
Yeah, exactly. It challenges our assumptions about cause and effect, about what it means to exist, and even about the role of consciousness in shaping reality.
Okay, I am officially hooked. Let's dive into those philosophical depths. Because if reality is stranger than we thought, I want to know just how strange it can get. Okay, so we're going deep into the philosophical side of Schrodinger's cat now. We've talked about the experiment itself, the science behind it, even quantum computers. But now it's time to tackle the big questions. What does it all mean?
It's really fascinating, isn't it? This thought experiment really makes us question some of our most basic assumptions about reality.
Yeah, for centuries, we thought the universe was this giant clockwork machine, just ticking away, whether we were watching or not. But Schrodinger's cat throws a wrench right into those gears.
It really does. It suggests that at the quantum level, reality might be more like a blurry, undefined picture. And it only comes into focus when we observe it.
So does that mean the moon doesn't exist when no one's looking? I mean, that sounds crazy, right?
It might sound crazy, but it's a question that's kept physicists and philosophers up at night for decades. It gets to the heart of what we call the measurement problem in quantum mechanics. Does our observation actually create reality, or are we just uncovering what was already there?
And then there's the whole question of consciousness. Does consciousness play a role in collapsing the wave function? Do we have some kind of mind over matter power that we haven't tapped into yet?
Some interpretations, like the von Neumann-Wigner interpretation, suggests that consciousness might actually be the key. But others argue that any interaction with the environment, even something as simple as air molecules bouncing around in the box, could be enough to cause decoherence.
Decoherence.
Where?
Remind me what that is again.
Oh, it's like the environment is measuring the cat's state, kind of blurring the lines between those quantum possibilities and making it harder for the cat to stay in that both alive and dead superposition.
So even if we never open the box, the cat's fate might already be decided, just because of its interactions with the stuff inside the box.
Exactly. It suggests that the act of measurement might not be as simple as we think. It might not be about us humans observing something, but about how a system interacts with its surroundings.
Okay, so even though Schrodinger's cat doesn't give us any easy answers, it does make us rethink the nature of reality itself.
It certainly does, and it highlights the fact that science is a journey of ongoing discovery. We're constantly pushing the boundaries of what we know and what we can imagine.
So as we close out this deep dive into the mind-bending world of Schrodinger's cat, we'll leave you with one final thought to ponder. If you were to open that box, what do you think you'd find? Would the cat's fate already be sealed? Or would it be a true game of quantum chance, decided at the very moment you peek inside?
And if the many worlds interpretation is right, somewhere out there, there's another version of you, opening that box and finding the opposite outcome. It's a mind-boggling concept, but it's one that forces us to confront the limits of our understanding and to embrace the mysteries that still lie hidden within the universe.
We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep exploring these fascinating questions. Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep that sense of wonder alive. Who knows what other mind-blowing discoveries await us in the quantum realm? And until next time, happy pondering. Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know how much we love to dig deep into fascinating cultural stuff, right?
We really do.
Well, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into Journey to the West.
Oh, I'm excited about this one.
This story has captivated people for, centuries.
Yeah.
And I bet you're already curious to know more.
Definitely. It's captivating, but, Journey to the West is more than just captivating. It's like this incredible blend of history, imagination,
Right.
myths, folklore. I mean, you've probably heard the basics, right? A monk, a monkey,
Okay.
got demons, oh my. But there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface.
So much more. And that's what we're going to unpack today. We're talking hidden layers, cultural insights,
Oh, yeah.
and maybe even some personal reflections along the way.
I like where this is going.
So strap in. Our mission is to figure out why this story still resonates so powerfully, even after all this time.
Okay, so to really get Journey to the West, we have to start with a real person, Xuanzang, a Buddhist monk from the 7th century.
Okay.
Imagine this. He defies the emperor's travel ban.
Whoa, hold on. Defying the emperor. That's big.
Huge. And he embarks on this super dangerous journey to India, all to bring back Buddhist scriptures.
Wow. Talk about dedication.
Right. That's commitment.
Seriously, can you imagine? No GPS, no Google Maps, just faith and a whole lot of walking.
It's incredible. And get this, his writings, they became a historical record, like a travel journal almost, the Great Tang records on the Western region.
So he's like the original travel blogger.
Exactly. Only instead of top 10 temples to visit, it's how I survived bandits and blizzards to reach enlightenment. And that real journey, it's the seed for the whole epic tale we know as Journey to the West.
So we have our history lesson, but now let's sprinkle in the magic. This is where it gets really exciting.
Right. Demons, dragons, a magical monkey king, you name it.
It's wild.
It's a wild ride, but here's the thing. Those elements, they're not just for entertainment. They're all woven into Chinese culture, into their beliefs.
I see.
So it becomes something deeper, more meaningful, like anxieties of the time, spiritual ideals. It's a reflection of society, a real cultural artifact.
Okay, I'm hooked. So let's meet the crew making this journey. First up, Tang Senzang, our determined pilgrim.
Our monk on a mission.
He's all about enlightenment.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, he wouldn't get far without his, how do I put this, interesting companions.
To say the least. That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
We have Sun Wukong.
The legendary Monkey King. Okay, he's got to be my favorite already.
Right. He's all about chaotic energy. But he's not just a troublemaker. He represents something much deeper.
Oh, I bet. I can already tell there's more to him than meets the eye. But what about the rest of the gang? What about Pigsy?
Ah, Pigsy, our resident foodie. Zubaji is his real name, you know? And he's got a thing for the ladies, that one. Always up for a good time, even if it means a little trouble.
Sounds familiar. And Sandy. We can't forget Sandy.
Of course not. Xiaowujing, always reliable, always there, gets lost sometimes, but hey, we still love him.
They sound like they have their own sitcom. But seriously, you're right. They're more than just funny sidekicks.
Oh, absolutely.
They're like archetypes. Like they reflect parts of us, the human experience.
Exactly. Like Tang Sonzang, he's not just a monk on a mission. He represents the human heart.
Deep.
Right? Striving for enlightenment, you know, pushing forward even when things get tough, when we're tempted to quit. He embodies that desire to learn, to grow, kind of like you listening to this deep dive, wouldn't you think?
I like that. I never thought of it like that. That's cool. But if Tang Xinzang is the heart, who's the brains of the operation?
Ooh, good question.
The Monkey King, right?
Yeah.
He's smart. He's powerful.
He's powerful, that's for sure. But think of Sun Wukong as the unruly mind, not so much the brains.
Unruly mind. Okay, I can see that.
He has so much power, 72 different transformations. Can you imagine?
No way.
Right. Talk about mental agility. But without guidance, all that power, it can be destructive. Remember that magical headband Tang Sonzang uses on him?
Oh, yeah. The one that gives him a massive headache when he acts up.
Exactly. It's not just about discipline. It's about that tension we all feel, right? Between our wild impulses and actually trying to, you know, be better.
I feel that. Some days are definitely harder than others.
Exactly.
So we've got the heart, we've got the mind. Where do Pigsy and Sandy fit into all of this?
Well, Pigsy, he's like our base desires, you know, the things we're trying to overcome, like overeating or always wanting more, that instant gratification.
I know a few pigs in my life.
Right. We all do. And then there's Sandy. He's like blind obedience, loyal, dependable, but not always, you know, questioning things. It's like a reminder that even when you're following, a little critical thinking never hurt anyone.
That's a good point.
Good.
Wow, so they're all in this journey of self-discovery, huh? Even
Yeah.
with all the demons and magic and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what makes Journey to the West so relatable, so enduring. These larger-than-life characters dealing with real human struggles.
And speaking of struggles, these guys face some serious challenges. It's not just, you know, a demon here and there. Journey to the West throws the whole monster manual at them.
Right. And some of them are really out there. Remember that part with the spider demonesses? No, those are some seriously scary ladies.
Oh, yeah. The ones who lure men into their webs and, well, you know.
Literally drain their life force. Talk about a femme fatale.
That's both creepy and fascinating at the same time. It's like the story isn't afraid to go there, you know?
Exactly. Journey to the West uses these fantastical situations to explore some really interesting social dynamics.
It makes you think, right? And it's not just societal stuff. Didn't the excerpt say that the places they go are more, like, made up than real geography?
Yeah, they did. It's like the real journey is internal.
Right. It's all about those internal struggles mirroring the external challenges.
Yeah.
So every demon they fight, every temptation they resist, it's all about facing a part of themselves.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so relatable even centuries later.
Totally. Like, remember that part where Sun Wukong nearly ruins everything in the land of clouds and mist? All because he couldn't resist showing off a little.
Classic Monkey King. He means well, but he's got that impulsive streak.
That's us sometimes, right? We're all trying to be better, but those impulses can be strong.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not always just about willpower, you know? There's that recurring theme of things being, like, orchestrated by fate, by the Buddha himself even.
It's like the universe is deliberately putting obstacles in their way, right?
Yeah, and that ties into those big questions about destiny, free will, things people have been wrestling with forever. It's pretty deep stuff.
No kidding. But it also makes you think, like, maybe it's not about choosing our challenges, but how we face them.
Oh,
and speaking of different perspectives, we were talking about translations earlier, right? Do those change how we see those themes? Because there are a lot of different English versions of Journey to the West.
for sure. It's like each translation is a different lens, highlighting certain things. Like Arthur Waley's Monkey, it focuses more on the adventure, the humor.
Right, right.
But then you have Anthony C. Yu's translation, and he's all about those philosophical, religious layers.
So you could walk away with a totally different understanding depending on which one you read. That's wild.
Totally. It shows how much depth the story has. It's not about finding the correct translation, but appreciating the different things each one emphasizes.
That actually reminds me of something. Earlier, you mentioned how the story can be, like, repetitive at times with all the trials and tribulations. I have to admit, sometimes I'm like, come on, guys, another demon.
It's true. The structure can feel a bit formulaic, but that repetition, it actually serves a purpose in storytelling and even in, spiritual practices.
Oh, how so?
Well, think of it like this. It's not a circle, it's a spiral.
Spiral? Okay. I'm listening.
So each challenge, even if it seems similar, it's a chance to learn and grow. And it shows how challenges repeat in life, just with different faces.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like Tang Sanzang, right? He never gives up on his quest for those scriptures. And we have to be like that too. Keep going, even when things get tough. Learn from every obstacle.
So it's not about, like, never facing another obstacle again.
No, not at all.
It's more like learning how to deal with them better each time.
Exactly. And that's such an important message, right? Life's not about being perfect. It's about growing,
It's about the journey, even when it's messy.
Yes. Embrace the mess, the detours, the unexpected stuff. That's where the good stuff happens.
And maybe that's why Journey to the West is still so popular, even now.
I think so. It's not about some fairy tale ending. It's about how we change along the way.
It's a story about us.
Absolutely.
Our own struggles, what we want, what we're scared of, that search for something bigger than ourselves.
Yes. And finding meaning, even when things are tough.
Even with all the demons, real or, metaphorical.
Exactly. And you know what else? We can't forget about the humor.
Oh, right. There's a lot of funny stuff in there.
Even with those big themes, those profound moments, Journey to the West never gets too serious for itself. There's always some wit, a little slapstick.
Keeps it light.
Exactly. Like it's saying, hey, life is crazy, so you might as well enjoy it. And speaking of enjoying it, I love how this story pops up everywhere.
Oh, I know. It's in movies, video games, Lego sets even.
Right.
Yeah.
This ancient tale, still inspiring people, still relevant.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. And it shows you how universal those themes are. Self-improvement, facing your fears, friendship. Those are timeless,
They really are. It doesn't matter where you come from. Everyone wants to be a little braver, a little better.
A little more enlightened.
Exactly.
And maybe that's the real message at the heart of Journey to the West. That enlightenment, it's not some finish line way out there.
It's more like a journey.
Exactly. And it's a journey we can all take, in our own way. The real treasure, the real wisdom. It's not in some far-off land. It's inside us and in the experiences we have.
That's a good way to put it.
We all have our own stories to tell, our own journeys to the West, you could say.
I like that.
So keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and remember, buckle up, embrace the chaos. It's all part of the ride.
That's some real wisdom right there.
Yeah.
And on that note, we've reached the end of another deep dive.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.